When I was 9 years old, I was slowing down the class because I didn't understand the lessons. And a teacher came to my defense. She pointed to me from the whole classroom and said, "Leave that kid alone. That's the boy with the broken brain."
At the very beginning of every year, what does everybody ask me? How do I build traction? How do I make 2025 the best year of my life? And I go, here's what you do. You jump in a time machine and you go back to October of 2024 and you start building momentum going into the upcoming year. And so that's what we're gonna be doing. We've got some of my best friends, some of my heroes, people that I have fought to build relationships with these people, and I text them and I ask them for a personal favor. And Jim Kwik is our first speaker, and there's a reason why we have Jim Kwik coming in and speaking with us today. And I want to tell you guys just a couple of minutes about Jim Kwik. Jim Kwik, the first time I heard about him was on YouTube several years ago. And you know, when you're like, in your garage, you're doing laundry, you're doing something, you're driving to the grocery store, you'll throw on a YouTube and then YouTube will suggest something to you. This was one of those YouTube videos that I pulled over to listen to. One in a million YouTube videos I've watched, this was the only one that ever stopped me in my tracks, made me pull over and go, who the heck is this that is speaking? And it was Jim Kwik. And I fell into Jim Kwik's world, and I fell into essentially learning better, understanding your learning style and how to be more efficient with your brain and how to use your brain as a superpower. And I see all these people that say, I'm overwhelmed. Has anybody ever felt like I'm overwhelmed? I'm learning too much. And oh my gosh, it feels like all this information is just like a fire hose all at me. And I will tell you guys that there's a lot of motivational speakers out there, but there's only one transformational speaker that I've ever seen on a stage. And that's Jim Kwik. Jim Kwik is a transformational speaker, meaning when I hear him speak and he actually gets people to do things actively in the audience, I see people transform in real time while he's speaking on stage. He's the only person I've been able to see do this. I've seen him do it live. And so I had this opportunity about 3 years ago. I get a text message from Dean Graziosi and he says, hey, Pace, we want to invite you to this really private mastermind. It's a mastermind with only 10 people. We're going to have Russell Brunson there, Tony Robbins, so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. I'm like, those people are epic. And then he tells me, and we also have Jim Kwik. And I go, I'm there. He goes, I haven't even told you the date. I go, it doesn't matter. If my wife is giving birth, she's giving birth at the mastermind. I'm gonna go and meet Jim Kwik. He's one of my biggest heroes. I love this man. He is unbelievable. He transforms a lot of people's lives, and our community loves him as well. How many people are big fans of Jim Kwik here in the a live audience? You guys all love Jim Kwik? And how many people in our community love, type in the word Kwik, K-W-I-K, for Jim Kwik in the side comments, please. K-W-I-K, Jim Kwik. It's so ironic that his last name is Kwik, isn't it? Do you guys know what Molly's last name is on my team? Tenant. She manages all the tenants. So this is what happens when people come into my world. They have to change their last name to align with their job. My bookkeeper's last name is Counts. Tony Counts. Crazy. So Jim Kwik, somebody who helps you learn faster, be more efficient. His last name is Kwik. So guys, give him a nice, quick welcome. Let's bring Jim Kwik up to the stage, please. How you doing, brother?
I'm so good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. I know that you're doing this as a favor for me. I appreciate you so much, and one of the people I look up to in my life. And we're gonna hang out with you for 50 to 60 minutes and just call it a day. And I'm hoping we can cover some of the things that we've even covered before. Whatever it is that is on your schedule, what you want to talk about today, the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Big fan and follower of your work, our whole team. So many people have joined your community also. So it's good to be here. You're one of my favorite people. So
thank you, Jim.
And I changed my last name just for you.
Thank you. Yes. The whole live audience loved that. I wish we had a camera on the live audience today, but we don't.
So some of the things we're going to talk about, how to upgrade your number one wealth building asset, which everyone knows is your brain, right? I believe knowledge is power, then learning really is your superpower. And the faster you could learn, the faster you could earn. Your ability to focus, your ability to think, your ability to solve problems, your ability to be able to make good decisions, to serve your clients. Specifically for this community, some of the things that everyone might find useful. I encourage you to take some notes. Also, I want to make everything very practical. Retention of complex, financial information. Would that be useful? Learning and applying new strategies. How do you learn new strategies, retain it, be able to apply it? Networking, relationship management. Pace emphasizes more than anyone I know the power of community. He's so good at it. I learned so much. Building a strong network. relying on partners, mentors, community, collaboration. So your ability to remember names, personal details, previous conversations, helps you build stronger, deeper, lasting relationships. So I think that could be a useful thing. Even applying your brain for negotiation skills and just quicker thinking, right? Negotiation is a key part to any business, real estate and other. So having strong mental clarity, your ability to think quickly on your feet during said negotiations can give you a significant edge. Remembering negotiation tactics or applying them under pressure. Also, we do a lot not only with time management but mind management. With so many tasks involved in your work, from marketing, closing deals, effective time management is key. Learning how to prioritize tasks and all of that, and just getting learning business vocabulary, new. Where you're a new experienced investor, like you need to master in like, let's say, industry jargon, right? Legal processes, maybe some transactional steps that you want to have at your mental fingertips. Your ability to even solve problems, thinking out of the box. Some of these deals, might require creative solutions, especially when dealing with, you want learning methods that really can enhance your ability to solve problems, your lateral thinking. And so these are some of the areas I'm thinking about. All yes. I know we'll definitely got you covered. So let's start with the three keys that are most important. I'm going to give you a framework, everybody. Take out a piece of paper, everybody, and I'm just going to give you a very quick overview of our Limitless model. You might be familiar with it. This is the lens I see everything through, all of your success. And when I'm working with a coaching client, no matter what their field or industry, I filter everything through these three things. So let's make this very practical. I want you to feel like you get so much value out of this, that this alone it could change the trajectory of your business, of your brain, of your life. Limitless, which is the name of my book, it's not about being perfect. It's about advancing. It's about progressing beyond what you're currently demonstrating or what you believe is possible. The opposite of progressing is being stuck. So you don't have to share it in the chat, but think about an area of your life where you feel stuck. Because I want this to be very personal and relevant to you, so you apply it, right? So you have some kind of angst to be able to fix this. Where do you feel like you're stuck? Is it in your health? Is it in your reading speed? Is it your memory? Is it your finances? Is it your impact, your happiness? Where do you feel stuck? So I want everyone to draw, like on a piece of paper, a little box, a three-dimensional cube, right? And that's going to represent where you're stuck, because probably where you want to go is somewhere outside of that box, right? So this is three-dimensional. And so there are three forces that keep you stuck, or this is also, you could use this for sales. You could use this negotiation. You could use this with your kids. If they're stuck in some area, someone might be stuck not buying or investing, right? There's three forces. And so I represent these three forces with three circles, three intersecting circles. And I'm going to go through this framework really fast because I think you could appreciate the framework. And then I'll go into tactics. All right, so I'm creating a Venn diagram here, and there are three M's that you need to be able to move, because these are the three dimensions that will liberate you out of that limitation. The last M I'm going to give you right now, the one on the bottom, are methodologies. So there are methods of investing, of buying, of flipping, of social media marketing. There's also methods for speed reading and memory and losing weight, right? A lot of people know the methodology. They know what to do, but they're not doing what they know. Because knowledge is not by itself power. It has the potential to be a lot of power. I think we could all agree, but it's when it's applied. I realize that you need two other M's first that you need to address. The first M is your mindset. Now, I don't know how you would define mindset, Keith, mindset for sure, but like, how would you could even put it in the chat. How would you define what a mindset is? Ralph, appreciate your acknowledgement. Yeah, it's just your worldview. It is your state of being. It could be the programs in your mind. For me, practically, your mindset are the set of assumptions and attitudes you have about something. You're write this down. Your attitudes and assumption about something. So let's take money. Somebody could have a mindset that money is the root of all evil. Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to hurt people to make money. And they could have all the greatest methods here, but they're still going to be stuck in this box because their mindset is limited. That just makes sense, right? At events that pace and I've had the honor and pleasure of speaking on stages with him. People invariably in the lobby pull me aside and say, Jim, I know you're a memory coach. I have a horrible memory. I'm just getting too old. I'm not that smart, right? And I always say the same thing, and I'll say it to you. Stop. If you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. If you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. Then they're yours, right? And so your brain is this incredible supercomputer, and your self-talk, your beliefs, is the program your mind will run. So if you tell yourself you're not good at, I mentioned earlier, remembering names, you won't remember the name of the next person you meet because you program your mind not to, right? Your supercomputer not to. So you have to address mindset. Otherwise, because if you self-sabotage, it's probably a mindset issue. So three things that would go under mindset that if you want to get real raw and real are your attitudes and assumptions about who, about yourself, right? So three things I would write down near mindset: what I believe is possible, and the second one, what I believe I'm capable of. And the third one, what I believe I deserve. What I believe is possible, because you could believe it's possible for somebody else. You could believe as you go through trainings and listen to Pace, you could believe that it's possible for Pace. I don't think anyone, doesn't believe that, but you might not believe it's possible for you. So that needs to be addressed, right? Otherwise, you're going to be stuck again in that box. For me, I teach people how to read 3 times faster, learn, languages, and give speeches without notes. I believe when it comes to memory, 2 of the most costly words in business are I forgot. I mean, think about the consequences in your life of saying, I forgot to do it. I forgot to bring it. I forgot what I just read. I forgot that conversation. I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot that person's name. You lose time, you lose trust, you make mistakes. Going back to remembering names, which we'll definitely cover, if that's that useful, your ability to remember names. I think it's number one business etiquette skill there is. Because how are you going to show somebody you're going to care for their future, their family, their finances, whatever, if you don't care enough just to remember, their name, right? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So mindset, what I believe is possible, what I believe I'm capable of, you, right? And then also what you believe you deserve. I love this community. I've spent time here because you identify more with a thermostat, not a thermometer. Think about that. We learn through analogies and metaphors. A thermometer, what is the function of a thermometer? Put it in the chat. You do deserve success, Angie. What's a thermometer do? It tells the temperature. It reacts to the environment. Can we all agree that if in wherever you are right now, if you see a thermometer, it's reacting to the environment exactly. And sometimes as human beings, we react. We react to politics. We react to how people treat us. We react to the weather, right? Good and bad. But the happy is, and I would dare say some of the more successful people, they identify more with a thermostat because a thermostat doesn't react to the environment. It gauges, it knows what's going on. And there's no problem with knowing what's going on. It gauges the temperature. But what does a thermostat do that's different than a thermometer? It sets a temperature, right? And what happens to the environment? The environment reacts to you. That's leadership. Right. That's where you set a temperature, you set a goal, you set a vision, you set a standard, right? And then the environment reacts to you. You take the invisible and then you make it visible because, Henry Ford said, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, either way, you're right. And sometimes it's not that, oh, I'll believe it when I see it. Sometimes the opposite. Sometimes you'll see it when you start believing it, right? So I just want to address mindset, and we can go into more during Q&A if you like. Now, the final M, which I want to address and then go into the tactics of having a better brain and how to remember names. You have mindset, you have motive, you have methods, but you could still be stuck in that box because you lack the final M, which is what? If people are familiar with my work, if you read Limitless, motivation, Constance, Deo, Hubert. Absolutely, Rosie, motivation. So, because you could believe everything's possible mindset. You can know exactly what to do. And, Pace gives you literally the roadmap to do that. But if you're not motivated to get out of that box, then you're still stuck. So here's the key to motivation. And I would dare say you could use this to motivate other people also as well. And I'll be turning 52. I've been doing this for 33 years now, full time. I don't know how to do anything else, but I could tell you when I want to motivate somebody or motivate myself, there's 3 keys for limitless motivation. It's the letter P times E times S3. P times E times S3. Now let's break this down. One of the things you could do for a great brain is read more. One of the great things you could do for a great brain is to exercise. When you exercise, as your body moves, your brain grooves. You create dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, very important for cognitive health, extremely important for cognitive performance. When you exercise, you create something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factors. And I speak fast because I'm from New York, okay? But it's like fertilizer for your brain to make new connections, neuroplasticity. And so let's say though you're not exercising on a regular, and I don't just mean going to CrossFit 3 times a week. I mean moving throughout the day. You're not doing that. It's because the P in the equation stands for what? The P stands for actually purpose. All right, purpose. I've had a dear friend, Simon Sinek, on the podcast 3 times, and he wrote a book called Start With Why. I'm going to mention a lot of books because if you've ever seen me online, if we're connected on social media and you see me with Oprah or Bill Gates or Elon or whoever, people always invariably ask, how did we meet? How did we create a relationship? We bonded over books, right? Leaders are readers. You read to succeed. If somebody has decades of experience and they put it into a book and you could sit down in a few days and read that book, you could download decades into days. There's no bigger advantage than that, right? You could read a book because somebody's written a book on every problem that you're facing right now. But how many of you go buy books and they sit on your shelf unread and it becomes shelf help, not self-help, right? One of the challenges is really tapping into purpose. Start with why. The success formula, there's a syntax to success. It has to go from your head to your heart, to your hands. And I alliterate a lot, same letters, right? Head, heart, hands. You can have a goal, KPIs, vision, dream in your head. If you're not acting with your hands, check in with the second H, which is your heart. What does the heart symbolize? Emotions, right? You know, people don't buy logically, they buy what? They buy emotionally, right? Because we're not logical, we are biological. Remember those neurotransmitters, those substances, these chemicals, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins? We are this chemical feeling soup. But if we don't feel it, so it has to go from your head to your heart. So let's take exercise. Here's an example. Years ago, I was walking in my neighborhood and I saw someone I kind of recognized, but I didn't know who it was, which is very embarrassing as a memory expert. And when he opened his mouth, I heard his voice. I knew exactly who he was, but I didn't recognize him because he looked completely different. The backstory is this person is the most unhealthy person, and he took pride in being unhealthy, right? And I was like, wow, now you look young. I don't even recognize you. You look younger, you look fitter, you lost all this weight, you have this glow. And I was like, what happened? He tells me all these things that he's doing. And I was like, our friends, we've been telling you this for years, and you never took one step. And he is like, yeah, but I went on a business trip, came back, and my daughter was crying hysterically. She had a nightmare that I died and wasn't there for the family, for her. And he found purpose. So I just want to remind you, you can write this down. Reasons reap results. Reasons reap results. Without the reason, you won't get the result, right? Like when people see me at events and there's time, I do these demonstrations where I'll memorize 100 people's names or 100 random words or numbers, forwards and backwards. But I always tell you, I don't do this to impress you. I do this to express to you what's possible. Because the truth is, each and every one of you could do this too. We just weren't taught, right? School taught us what to learn: math, history, science. There's 0 classes on how to learn. I mean, who took classes on concentration, focus, flow, memory, right? And so I think the number one skill to master in the 21st century is your ability to learn rapidly. Right? Your ability to learn rapidly and translate that learning into action is the ultimate competitive advantage, right? Your ability to learn, unlearn, to be able to relearn, because the information is always changing, right? It's getting outdated. And so you have to be able to unlearn it, to be able to relearn it and learn it rapidly and take action on that. I honestly think my rule is for every hour I spend listening to something like we are today, spend an equal hour applying it, right? That's how you take knowledge and really turn it into real power and profit. So the P is purpose. You need to feel it and allow yourself to feel it. He knew intellectually he should be healthier or do certain things or lose the weight, but he didn't do it because it was just cognitive. But when he felt it, it made a difference. Same thing with reading. You know, I think scheduling 30 minutes of reading a day is so very important. First of all, it's the best brain exercise. Everyone always wants to know what app or game. Reading is to your mind what exercises your body, right? But if you're not doing it, maybe you're not feeling the rewards and the benefits that would come from it. Now, I'm going to go through the rest fast so I can get into tactics. The E, and we could talk about audiobooks during the Q&A, and I'm happy to stay, a little bit longer. What do you think the E, P times E times S3 stands for? You know it. Energy. Sometimes we're not motivated to get out of that box because we're exhausted. And here's the key to energy. You do not have energy. You're like, that's the problem, Jim. I have no energy. In fact, you don't have focus, you don't have motivation, you don't even have a memory. You're treating it like a noun. These are not things you have, a noun. These are things you do. And a big principle, what I teach in Limitless, is taking nouns and turning them into verbs in action, right? You don't have energy, you create it. You don't have a memory. There's a three-step process to memorize something effectively. You don't have motivation. There's a process of P times E times S3, right? And the benefit of turning to a verb, it gives you your power back. It gives you your agency back, which is it's a reminder that you're a thermostat. And again, not a thermometer. So energy I put there because an exhausted person doesn't do anything, right? When you get a bad night's sleep, how motivated are you to make deals or get on the phone or to study or to work out? Right. So there's certain things you do for better energy. I'll give it to you right now. Here's one. Meds RX. I'm going to load you up because I have very limited time with you with acronyms as a kind of a shortcut, like a little mnemonic. There are obviously much more sophisticated ways of remembering things. M stands for meditation. Your brain's not meant to go full speed all day long. You need to make a pit stop. Take a 5-minute brain break throughout the day, and that's so very important. Or to meditate. How many of you have some kind of meditation, mindfulness process? Mindfulness for me, or meditation, it's not a spiritual thing for me. I don't do it to get enlightened. I do it as an exercise to recharge my brain and help me focus. Because invariably when my mind thinks about something else, like I have to get on a flight tomorrow to LA and I have to think about it, when I bring it back to my present, bring it back to my breath, bring it back to a mantra, whatever you practice in terms of meditation, I exercise my focus. And I get really good at bringing myself back from distraction. And how you do anything is how you do everything, right? How you do anything is how you do everything. So I could bring that when I'm here present with you. My son walks into my room, I could pull it back to me being present with you, right? So you don't have focus, you do it. And it's a muscle like your memory. In fact, here's a belief to have. I talk about a lot of lies in Limitless, like the 7 big lies that hold you back. And a lie, again, it's an acronym, a limited idea entertained. We're turning this into a real masterclass right now. Limited idea entertained. It's not true that you're too old or not smart enough, or that you have a bad memory. There's no such thing as a good or bad memory. There's a trained memory and there's an untrained memory. And I know it's possible because I grew up with severe learning difficulties, probably more than anyone else that's here with us today, that's here with us live or watching recorded. When I was 5 years old, I had a kind of really bad accident. I had a traumatic brain injury, rushed to the emergency room covered in blood. I was knocked out. And where it really showed up was in school. I had poor focus, poor memory. It took me 3 years longer to learn how to read. And that was very difficult. I had migraines every day as a child. I just thought it was normal. When I was going through these struggles, my grandmother, who was my superhero, because my parents immigrated to the US and had many jobs. We lived in the back of a laundromat that my mom worked at. So my grandmother took care of me, and she passed of Alzheimer's when I was 7. So, it puts you on a path, right, of what I do. And Kwik really is my last name. I didn't change it to do what I do. It's my father's name. It's my grandfather's name. But it's really my dharma, helping people to quicken their mind, which again is your number one wealth building asset. But going back here, it took me 3 years longer to learn how to read. When I was 9 years old, talking about mindset, I was slowing down the class because I didn't understand the lessons. The teacher would have to repeat over and over again. And because of it, I was getting teased for being slow. And my last name's Kwik, so you can imagine how kids are a little bit harsh. And a teacher came to my defense. She pointed to me from the whole classroom and said, "Leave that kid alone. That's the boy with the broken brain." And that label became my limit, right? That affected my mindset. So every single time, how many of you have children? How many of you once were a child? Right? Children are such fast learners, and you're born like as a blank slate. And adults have to be very careful of their external words because they become a child's internal words, right? You as an adult, your external words become a child's internal words. And when you teach a child, you teach their children, right? It gets passed on. They have mirror neurons. They imitate not what you say, but what you do, right? We could do a whole hour on that alone. But the idea here is every single time I did badly in school or wasn't picked for sports because I have these balance issues, coordination issues because of my brain injury, I would always say to myself, oh, because I have the broken brain. So that became my mindset. And so this is why I'm so passionate about mindset and motivation. But going back to the M in Meds RX, mindfulness or meditation, taking 10 minutes a day to recharge, to collect yourself, disconnect to reconnect, an amazing exercise and focus. The E for energy is exercise. And we talked about the benefits of exercise, but I don't just mean going to the gym. I mean moving throughout the day. They say sitting is the new smoking. We're behind screens all day. So, every hour, taking 5 minutes to do some stretching, some rebounding, some calisthenics, moving your body, because that increases blood flow to your brain and oxygen. The D in Meds RX, diet. What you eat matters, especially for your gray matter. What you eat matters, especially for your gray matter. And so there are certain foods, and I write about in Limitless, a whole chapter on neuronutrition that talks about foods that are nutritious and delicious. And by the way, everyone's a little different, right? So you could do a microbiome test and nutrient profile test. Kale could be good for some people, maybe not so good for others. Some of my favorite ones, and again, it has to be specific for you. Talk to a good nutritionist, functional medicine doctor. Avocados, monounsaturated fat, it's good for your brain. Blueberries, one of my favorite snacks ever. I call them brain berries. A lot of antioxidants, very neuroprotective. Broccoli has something called sulforaphane. So your parents were right. Eat your greens. Sulforaphane is good for your cognitive health. Olive oil, eggs, if your diet allows. The choline in eggs lead to something called acetylcholine, which is good for cognitive health. Green leafy vegetables, kale, spinach, a few more. Wild salmon or sardines gives you your omega-3s, your DHAs, which I'm sure you've heard of. You can use flax. There's all these alternatives. Turmeric helps to lower systemic inflammation. The active ingredient there is curcumin. So even if you're not eating the foods, you're not getting the fish, you could supplement with DHA, right? If you're not getting the antioxidants from a blueberry, you could supplement. I always prefer food, but that's just kind of my preference. The curcumin is the active ingredient, so you can supplement with that if you're not getting turmeric. And then finally, walnuts, high in vitamin E, and dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is been shown to be very good for your brain. So those are your D, your diet. And then from there, the S, obviously, tell me what S is. Yeah, Jill, sleep. And this is something I just want to remind you. Again, common sense is not common practice. So maybe this could serve as a reminder. Maybe I'll say it a different way that makes it stick so you can put it in action tonight. When you don't sleep, how's your brain the next day? How's your ability to solve problems? How's your focus? How's your memory? When you sleep, 3 things happen for your brain specific, I want to point out. When you sleep, it consolidates short to long-term memory. So if you have long-term memory issues, do a sleep study. No longer do you have to go into a stale clinic. Your doctor could send you a home study, a sleep study, right, that you could do right from your own bedroom. And also when you sleep, you clean out the beta amyloid plaque. It's like when you sleep, the sewage system in your brain kicks in and you clean out that plaque that could lead to brain aging challenges like what my grandmother, had. And then when you sleep, you also dream. And did you know in that REM state, some of the most amazing things in the world, innovations, art, music, literature came from dreams. Like Mary Shelley created Frankenstein in a dream. Paul McCartney created the song Yesterday in his dream. I mean, have you ever been studying something so much and then you start dreaming about it? Elias Howe created the sewing machine. I can give you the chemist in a dream created the periodic table. If you want an interesting video, search YouTube, Jim Kwik, my name, How to Remember Your Dreams, right? Because a lot of people have great dreams to fix some of their problems, but then they forget it. First thing. So S is sleep. My favorite tips on how to sleep, and I would love to see in the chat, because I'm always looking for new things also. Direct sunlight first thing in the morning, 10 minutes. It's a non-negotiable. I have to do that. Not through a window because that could filter out a spectrum of light, but your eyes are the only part of your brain that's outside of your skull. So when you're exposed to that light, it resets your circadian rhythm and you'll sleep better that night. Another thing, you have an alarm to maybe wake up. Highly suggest you use that same alarm to go to sleep. Your brain and your sleep loves a rhythm and a schedule. Going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time. Nobody does it perfect. I certainly don't. But even on weekends, to the degree you stay on a schedule, you'll sleep better over the long term. Another 2 things I'll give you. Think about us thousands of years ago, hunter-gatherers. We would know it'd be time to sleep because the world would tell us, the environment would tell us. there would be a decrease in two environmental factors. What are they? And I asked this specifically because it's active learning, and this is a great group. I love the energy here. Light and temperature. We sleep better when it's cooler and when it's darker. Not where it's so cold you're shivering, because that will keep you up, right? But the darker, definitely the better. And how you could do this, you could take a hot shower, a sauna, an Epsom salt bath, the magnesium from the bath, you'll absorb the magnesium transdermally. The magnesium will help you relax. But when you get out of that hot environment, your core body temperature drops. And that's a signal to create this hormone called melatonin, which helps you to relax. And it's your sleep hormone. All right. So going into and keeping your bedroom cooler. The light is a big deal because it's our devices. That's usually the thing that's hurting us, right? You've all heard this. I have a video with Simon Sinek on Facebook from like 10 years ago, has 38 million views, and it just says, don't touch your phone the first 30 minutes a day or the last 30 minutes a day, right? That's the lesson. But the blue light from the screen, and you know this, but are you practicing this, fools your mind and think it's still daylight, so you don't create melatonin, right? And then just a hack for your habits, because I've had everyone, James Clear from Atomic Habits to Dr. BJ Fogg, who coached him and wrote a New York Times bestseller called Tiny Habits on the podcast, 100 million downloads, 400 episodes free. Check it out. Just search my name. But when habits, the key, how many of you would like to create new habits or break disempowering habits? One of the principles, I always go to first principles, is you want to make in your environment what's good for you easier and what's harmful for you more difficult. So if I say don't touch your phone first 30 minutes a day or last 30 minutes a day, instead of using willpower, just put your phone in another room, in the bathroom, right? Something simple like that. I have a pull-up bar in my office, so I just do more pull-ups, right? A kettlebell that's here. It's just you set up your environment. I have a book that I read before I go to sleep, and I'm creating an environment to make the things that are nurturing for me easier and the things that are bad. So it's easier not to have the junk food in your home, so you don't have to do that, right? So that's sleep. And then finally, RX, and I'll go into remembering names. The R is relationships. I mean, that's why this, another reason why this community that Pace has built, I've gone to events with him in many different cities, and he does these meetups. How many of you have been part of one of Pace's special gatherings? I mean, it is like insane. He just posts something on social media, and all of a sudden, like, this huge mass of people swamp him. But the relationships, remember, and how it's good for your energy. Who you spend time with is who you become. We've all heard that we're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But what's really important here is like we mirror. We have something in our nervous system called mirror neurons, mirror like the reflection. And that's what allows us to feel empathy, and we imitate other people. It's like you're watching a movie, you could feel what the character is going through because your mirror neurons are all firing. Here's an acronym for you. WATCH, WATCH. What are we mirroring? What are we imitating in people? W, words. We use the same language as the people we spend the most time with. A, actions. We behave like the people we spend the most time with. Like if somebody in your life is doing, working out more, you're going to work out more, right? So it's less to do with your neurological networks, more to do with your social networks. The T are your thoughts. We think a lot like the people we spend time with, right? We look at the world and have a certain mindset as the people we spend the most time with. The C in watch, character. We tend to have the same moral integrity compass as the people that we spend time with. And then finally, the H, habits. First, you create your habits, then your habits create you. And we start having whether you smoke has less to do with your biology and more, do your friends smoke or your friend's friends smoke? You're more likely to smoke, right? So you want to watch your words, your actions, your thoughts, your character, and your habits. So relationships are so very important. In fact, we had the largest study on longevity and happiness. It's an 80-plus-year-old study at Harvard. And we had the director come on our podcast, and he's like, exercise is important, diet is important, but what outweighs that are your social connections, the depth of your social connections. So just make sure you tap into that, because especially in this community, right? I mean, we all need people to encourage us, to cheerlead for us, to challenge us, to call us on our BS. And if you haven't found that person yet, my suggestion, be that person for somebody else, especially be that person for who, for yourself. Because sometimes we're burnt out, not because we're doing, how many of you struggle with burnout, exhaustion, right? You're depleted, you're tired. Sometimes we're burnt out, not because we're doing too much. Sometimes we're burnt out because we're doing too little of the things that make us come alive. And I would put in there self-care, that self-care is not selfish. So monitor your relationships because you could have an energy vampire and that will steal your energy, right? The E and P times E times S3. And then finally, the X are all the extras. And I would put them last because I think the other ones are foundational. But that's the like cold plunge or the cold showers or the saunas or the nootropics. So different than taking your vitamin C, your vitamin E, your omega-3s, your creatine, which is an incredible, a lot of people associate that with exercise and working out, incredible for your mental energy and your mitochondria here for your brain. So many brain benefits, and it's very inexpensive, right? You get a whole carton for like $12. There's a whole science besides for cognitive health, like taking your basic cognitive wellness for cognitive performance. They call those nootropics. Somebody could spell it here. And you can look into lion's mane. You can look into bacopa. If you want a list of things, I mean, obviously we put it in the book, but you go to brainnutrition.com and I'll send you 30 ingredients. These are substances that have human studies that have been shown to move the needle in focus, memory, mood, and mental energy. So that would be the X. All right. So again, you don't have energy, you do it by meditating, exercising, managing your diet, getting good sleep, maintaining good positive relationships, and whatever extras you want to throw into that. All right. The last thing, and then I'll teach you how to remember names because I think it's the most important skill again in business. S3. Okay, so think about it. We're talking about, if you're just joining us, the power of motivation. And this, by the way, doesn't just apply to motivating yourself, it applies to motivating somebody else. They need purpose to buy. They need energy or resources or money, right? S3, I realize that people aren't motivated for one of three reasons. They have no reason, purpose. They have no energy, so they're not motivated, they're exhausted. Or S3, the thing is too big. It's too intimidating. It's too confusing. It's too overwhelming. You set a goal and it's just like, oh, that's too big. And a confused mind doesn't do anything, including in your business, right? When you're dealing with investors or customers, clients, whatever. And so S3 for my students here, what does S3 stand for? Does anyone know? Did you read small, simple steps? I love this. S3 stands for small, simple steps. So if something's intimidating, sometimes we're not motivated because the goal is too abstract, it's too big, it's too intimidating. Small, simple steps. So maybe let's go back to exercise, good for your brain. If you're not, maybe going to the gym an hour a day is just too big because it's not part of your routine. Small, simple step, put on those running shoes. On our podcast, we don't have any sponsors or anything. We just want to kind of get it out there. It's 20 minutes. We had a biological dentist, one of the best out of Germany, talking about different things besides brushing for your brain, because oral health is good for your brain health. And we talk about oil pulling and tongue scraping, and we talk about flossing, really good for your brain. How do you get your kids to floss? Maybe it's too big to a chore. Floss one tooth. That's a small, simple step. If you want to read to succeed, you're not doing your 30 minutes. That might be too big. Open the book, small, simple step. Read one line, small, simple step. If you want someone to buy, how do you make it super simple for them? How do you break things down? Because inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard, it's too hard. Here's the magic question that you could write down right now. I ask myself this question every day. Whenever I get stuck or, get into that box, I ask myself this question verbatim. To find my S3, what is the tiniest action I could take right now that will give me progress towards this goal where I can't fail? I'll say it again. What is the tiniest action I could take right now, operative word now, that gives me progress towards this goal where I can't fail? And then you have your small, simple step. So that's the key for greater motivation. So we have your mindset, limitless motivation, limitless methods, because also the methods you always want to be learning, as you're doing right now. You want to upgrade those skills constantly, your knowledge, skills, and abilities. Because you could have limitless mindset, limitless motivation, but if you're using an old strategy in business or marketing or investing or whatever, you're not going to get, or weight loss or reading. Like think about reading. You're not born with the ability to read. You could go online, just search, my name's speed reading, right? How old were you when the last time you took a class called reading? How old were you? 6? And so has the difficulty and demand increased? Of course, but how we're reading it is still like the same way we got trained, right? So that would be upgrading our methods. So the big thing, and I'll go into names right now, out of fear, the big mistake I see people making is they downgrade their dreams to meet the current situation, right? In politics and economics, whatever. And so instead of downgrading your dreams and goals to meet the current situation, instead upgrade your mindset, your motivation, and your methods to be able to reach your destiny, right? I believe there's a version of yourself that's patiently waiting. And the goal is we show up every single day until we're introduced. And it's not easy, right? It's simple, but it could be hard. But life is difficult for one of two reasons. Either you're leaving your comfort zone, life is hard, or life is hard if you stay in your comfort zone. And change is hard. Growth could be scary, but nothing is as hard and scary as being stuck somewhere you don't belong. And that's why I'll always go full out for Pace's community, because you show up for yourself, right? There are a lot of people who could have been here, but they're not here. And so I really appreciate you, and you should honor that too, and give yourself a pat on the back, and not to get all rah-rah, but whatever you reinforce, you get more of, right? And so kindness to self goes a long way. So I'm going to end with some quick tips on how to remember names and faces, and then happy to stay a little bit and answer questions. There are 3 keys to a better memory. I'm going to give you the foundation. And obviously we have courses and everything else. We have students in every country in the world. But if you want tips, that's for training. But if I only have time with you, I'll give you tips. 3 keys to a better memory. And memory, when you could easily remember client information, product information, give speeches without notes, remember names and faces, life is just easier and you're just going to make more income, right? MOM, just remember MOM, another acronym, mom, remember mom. All right, let's say you want to remember names and faces. I'm going to make this very, very quick. How many of you honestly have trouble remembering names? Just say yes. You ever meet somebody, they give you their name and seconds later, their name just disappears out of your mind? Or it's not a short-term issue, it's a long-term issue. You're like out and about somewhere, you're at a conference, you're at the mall, somebody taps you on your shoulder, you see someone you recognize, but for the life of you, you don't remember who this person is. And what makes it worse is when that person has the audacity to remember your name, or somebody comes up and you have to what? Introduce these people together. So let's say 99% of people would say they have trouble remembering names. But let's say Pace and I have a suitcase full of money for you, and it's all yours tax-free. You give it to your favorite charity, do whatever you want. Full. It's just spilling money. If you just remember the name of the next stranger that you meet, show me in the chat how many people are going to remember that person's name. Let's say there's $1 million. Yeah, everybody. So how come you're all memory experts all of a sudden? Because as a coach, I want to call you on your BS, your belief systems. It's not true that you can't remember a name. What does the first M in mom stands for? Motivation. All right. So what's your motive for taking action? So how do you get over that? Start with why. Just like we talked about motivation for purpose, ask yourself, why do I want to remember this person's name? You don't have to do this forever, but just train yourself in the beginning. Ask yourself, maybe to show a person a respect, maybe it's to do a deal, maybe it's to get a referral, maybe it's to practice these things I learned with Jim and Pace, right? Because what you practice in private, you're rewarded for in public. I think Jim Rohn said that. So whatever the reason, you'll get the result, you get the reward. The O, I want everyone to do this. I can't see you, but do this. And if you're in a room full of other people, do this too. Shake out a hand, look at me and do this. You're shaking your hand. This is the active part. Don't type. You can't shake your hand. Make a fist, put it to your chin. All right, where's your chin? How many of you went to your cheek and not to your chin? Got me. The O in mom stands for observation. You guys are fun. The O in mom stands for observation. A lot of times people blame when they forget names, their retention, and it's not your retention, it's you paying attention. The art of memory is the art of attention. And if you're taking notes, write down the word listen. Write down the word listen right now on a piece of paper. And here's a brain teaser. Just scramble the letters and it spells another word perfectly. Little brain exercise. Gina, you teach this class. This is awesome. Silent. You could remember a name. You have the 86 billion neurons, each with like upwards of 10,000 synaptic connections. If you extrapolate that, that's more connections there are stars in the known universe, right? You can remember 2 words. Your brain doesn't come with an owner's manual. So that's the problem. And we upgrade our phones. How many of you got the new phones, the new apps, whatever? But when's the last time we upgraded this technology that has created everything, which all of you are paid for this technology, right? Your brain. It's not like thousands of years ago is your muscle power, today's your mind power. It's not your brute strength, today's your brain strength. So the O stands for observation. And all you need to do is listen, because most people aren't. What are they thinking about? They're thinking about when they're meeting somebody, they're getting a name. What am I going to say? Who else is in the room, right? And how do I look? Whatever it is. And there's two conversations, so you're being distracted. O, just observe. And finally, the last M are methods, which I end with here. And I'll give you a very quick one, and then we'll wrap. Suave. And here's another one, suave, S-U-A-V-E. You want to be suave. So next time you're at a conference, event, look in the mirror, check yourself, and say, I'm going to be suave. S, you say the name. All right. Somebody tells you their name, Pace, you repeat it. Pace, it's nice to meet you. Right. You get to hear it twice. The you, use the name. Use it 3 or 4 times in the context of the conversation. Very, very simple tips, right? But don't abuse it. Pace, thank you so much for having me. Pace, what should we cover today? Pace, when do you want to ask a question? That would be an abuse, right? Just use it. A, the A is really great for people who have unusual names. Have you ever met somebody and they have a name that you haven't heard before? A is ask, because what's everyone's favorite subject? Yeah, themselves. What can you ask about a person's name? Who are you named after? Where is it from? How do you spell it? What does it mean, right? People are very genuinely flattered when you ask about it, and that helps you remember it better. And then finally, the V and the E. The V stands for visualize. How many of you are much better at what you see than what you hear? You see a face. How many of you are much better at remembering faces than you are names? You go to someone and say, I remember your face, but I forgot your name. You never go to somebody and say the opposite. You never go to someone and say, I remember your name, but I forgot your face, right? That don't even make any sense. There is a proverb that says, what I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. What I do, I understand. Because I honestly don't think people understand something unless they could do it, right? And then learn it to be able to teach it to somebody else. But going back to this, if you tend to remember the face, what you see, try seeing what you want to remember. So if a person's name is Mike at a conference, you're networking, you're doing a deal, just imagine them jumping on a table, singing on a microphone, right? Take a split second. Someone's name is David, I use a slingshot right to the nose. Why? David and Goliath, right? It's very simple. And by the way, you're doing this privacy of your own mind. You're not sharing this with the person. The person's name is Mary. I just put like 2 lambs underneath her arms. Mary had a little lamb. Someone's name's Carol. They're doing Christmas caroling. But the idea here is even when it doesn't work, it still works because it gets you to focus on the person and focus on the name, right? And then when the pictures, when you know the person's name, right, it's gone for your short to long-term memory, it's integrated, the pictures just disappear. But it's to overcome what I call the 6-second syndrome. What's the 6-second syndrome? Somebody tells you something like their name. You have 6 seconds max to do something with it. Otherwise, what happens? Yeah, it's absolutely gone. And so it gets you to focus on the person and the name. So person's name is John, you could picture something else, right? Just come up with something that sounds like it or reminds you. And finally, the E in suave is you end. You say goodbye, ending using their name. Because if you could walk into a room of 20 strangers and leave saying goodbye to every single one of them, who are they all going to remember? You. And that's a standout skill. That's where you truly become unforgettable. So we covered a lot here. We talked about the limitless model, mindset. We talked about motivation. We talked about methods. We talked about meds, RX. We talked about MOM. We talked about Suave. But I hope it serves you. And I know we're at time pace.
Guys, how many people love this so freaking much? By the way, Eric, show Jim my desk real fast. I took tons of notes. Guys, by the way, how many people got fooled? Show him the live audience. How many people got fooled by his hand trick? Jim, I was recording them the whole time. I'll put you on Instagram and I'll tag you on this. You fooled the whole entire room here. It's so good. Guys, thank you, Jim. Eric, you can pull him down. Thank you, Jim. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Gosh, dang. Jim freaking Kwik. Guys, for anybody that's not going to SquadUp Summit, last year what we did for SquadUp Summit was pretty special. We've had a lot of people, by the way, SquadUp Summit is already 50% of the way sold out, and it's not even coming up for half of a year. Did anybody hear who we had coming today? What level of grade of speakers do you think we already have coming to this event? 20 out of 10. Like when you hear the speakers that we've committed, you will go, how did that idiot Pace get those people? That guy's just a dummy. That guy's just a dummy. How did he do that? So make sure you guys get your ticket to SquadUp Summit. It will be in Dallas this year. How many people in here are going to SquadUp Summit? VIP. I will be in the VIP. Dude, you're going to get a special treat in VIP. VIP last year with Donald Miller. Dude, he crushed it on stage so hard. And then when he went into the VIP section for like an hour, I was like, gosh, dang. What he did is he zeroed in on individual people in that room. So we'll be doing the same exact thing. We only limit tickets. We are not one of those manipulators that say, hey, we're going to sell this many tickets, and we don't. One thing to let you guys know is tickets. We don't give discounts on tickets. We raise prices on tickets as we get closer to the event. So have we already raised prices? We went from $500 a ticket to now the regular general admission is now what the price was last year. And so the price is going up again. Why do we do this? One, because running an event of 3,500 people is incredibly expensive. Last year, we spent $3.7 million running SquadUp Summit number 1. SquadUp Summit number 2, we'll probably spend closer to $4.5 million. So get your ticket. Make sure you get there because we will raise the ticket prices 2, maybe even 3 more times.